The Opposites Attract podcast. All right, everyone. So, if you watch our introduction video, we talked a little bit about the topic that we present for our first episode. However, with some recent events that happened in our community, we think it is appropriate to talk about the murder of neighborhood Nip, R.I.P.
R.I.P.
So, Ray, I want to ask you, why do you think the untimely death of Nipsey Hustle had such a profound impact in our community?
Well, for me, I think the impact is the fact that this is someone who comes from an urban, gang affiliated background, but was doing some major, powerful things in this community. So, oftentimes we hear the correlation between gang member and everything negative gets automatically lumped up into what they are, who they are, where they come from. Mm-hmm. So I think with him passing, or with him being murdered, I think it hit people because this is someone who, although they had those affiliations, they were doing great things to bring positive change to the community. He was a philanthropist. Yeah. He was an entrepreneur. He was a musician. He was an artist. But his primary goal, despite who he was out in the entertainment world, his primary goal was to make changes in this community.
Absolutely. I agree with that 100%. I think that it's important to kind of talk about when people get these negative connotations. Yes, he was involved in a gang, and yes, mm-hmm. that was a big part of his life, sure, but that should not discredit all the positives mm-hmm. that he did, moving forward. And maybe that was just what he had to do to get to where he was at. Yeah. It was the time of his life that he needed to join a gang, and maybe in that time, it suited him. It was something that helped him, sure. Mm-hmm. But people can change, and he did that. And he was all about promoting Black excellence and Black-owned businesses and mm-hmm. giving people a chance who otherwise may not have had one. With the Marathon clothing line, mm-hmm. he took his own business and hired people who were fresh out of prison. Yeah. Because of how hard it is, to get jobs and mm-hmm. to reintegrate into society. And I feel like those things should be highlighted.
Absolutely.
Yes, he was in a gang, sure. Okay.
But to your point also is that for the people who are not familiar with why the Crips and Bloods were created, mm-hmm. A lot of people who are not familiar with the culture think that, the gangs is just this, this negative, evil, anti-community base mm-hmm. of men, of Black men or minority men, when really the initial creation of these gangs was to be revolutionaries and to promote excellence in their communities and to be protectors of their communities, yep. to be to be advocates for positive change in their communities. That's what they were created for. Part of the acronym for what a Crip is revolutionary. So, for those who are not as well studied and don't know the history, the Bloods and Crips started out, as a community of men who got together to bring change on a positive level to their communities. It wasn't for the negatives that you see now when the violence, things changed and mindsets changed over time. But the original goal was, let's take these men, understand that we're in a system that isn't for us, but let's make a collective of men that are actually going to unify and bring positive change mm-hmm. to the community. Yeah. So, and I think they started out at the Black Panther Party.
It was kind of a break off from that when mm-hmm. the Black Panther Party started to get met with a lot of kind of backlash and resistance and pushback, and people saw that they weren't allowed to thrive in the way that they should have been to help our communities and to do what they were trying to do for people of color. Mm-hmm. That's when gangs did start to come into play. So it definitely is kind of a break off of the Black Panther Party. And a lot of people don't know that. Like you said, yeah. I'm so glad that you brought up that point.
And it's a point it's necessary because
100%.
You got so many people in the world that just kind of take the surface information and they run with that. And Nipsey was actually the embodiment of what a Crip originally was supposed to be. With like I just said, with the giving jobs to men who were incarcerated, who came home and couldn't find work, giving them jobs, creating the Marathon clothing line. There were several men that were a part of his camp that did testimonies on the internet after his passing, speaking about how he sat them down and actually gave them the tools on how to create financial growth within their own households, within their own lives, without having to go on the corner and sell drugs and do things that were anti the community. So, you know, he actually embodied what a Crip is. You know, it's not that modern day term and you see all of this gang banging and all of that running around and doing all of the negative criminal activity. He was actually doing what the Crips are supposed to do. He was uplifting his people. Yeah. He had a group of men that was under him or that was a part of his camp that were going through the same process to create financial literacy for their own families and for their own households. And he was branding that and running with that and actually walked in that light. So, and this is something he's been doing since forever ago.
Yeah.
You know, even at the start of his music career, he was someone who wasn't with the flash and, you know, all of the jewelry and all of that stuff. He was a guy who was actually about his morals, his principles, and was about his community and wanted to see his community grow. So, you know, it's a big thing when you lose someone who was such a big revolutionary in their neighborhood, and you can only imagine how many people he was going to touch. He was actually, I think, did touch.
Yeah.
I think the week of his murder, that following week he was supposed to meet with the LAPD. They were supposed to talk about some prison reform, have a prison reform conversation and kind of bridge the gap between the LAPD and the urban communities to try to kind of get to some common ground there. Like, this man was really trying to do something 100%. That was great for his people, you know. And what did you think about the plethora of people from different walks of life, rather it was hip hop or just the community, different communities that actually showed up from across the state?
Oh, yeah.
States. What did you think about it?
I thought that it was, for me, it was heartbreaking. Yeah. It was beautiful, but it was heartbreaking to see that this one person was connected to so many people in so many different ways, and really trying to do better for himself, for his family, for his community, and to bring people who look like us, who might not have gotten those chances, along with him. And then to see him murdered, you know, so soon. And yeah, I think it was a beautiful thing that so many people came out to support him and, you know, to show support to his family. Along with that, I thought it really touched me. Like, this is what I'll say. One of the other things that I kind of wanted to talk about was the kind of outpouring on social media, right?
Yeah.
A lot of times when big things happen, everyone's first thought is to run on social media, right?
Yeah.
Naturally. So I saw a lot of comments like, oh, now all of a sudden everybody's a Nip fan, or now all of a sudden, you know, people want to talk about Nipsey Hustle or whatever. There was a lot of that going around. And I just want to kind of say that sometimes it takes for a tragedy to occur for people to start to want to look up information, to want to reach out to other people to understand, you know, well, why was this or what was this? And so it really boggles my mind that there were people angry about people, you know, researching Nipsey Hustle and what he stood for, or the things that he did just because he died at that time. Like, that literally boggled my mind, because you're essentially saying, like, you wasn't around when he was alive, so don't try to further your information now that he's passed away. And I think that is so ignorant. Because whether or not, you know, somebody rocked to him when he was alive or not, the fact that they are out trying to get this knowledge and get this information, I think is wonderful.
Yeah.
Yes, it's awful. It took a tragedy for that to occur. But there are a lot of people now that I do see, you know, saying, you know, let's support Black-owned businesses, or, you know, how can we further some of the things that Nipsey was doing? And I think that is something so beautiful that came from something so tragic.
Yeah.
But why do we always have to, like, why are we so negative? Why do you think that, you know, everything's about, you know, you wasn't there first?
Yeah.
Why is that the case?
I'm just going to call it what it is. People are stupid. I'm just going to call it what it is. I mean, I'm sorry to anyone that may offend, but if the shoe fits, you got to wear it. At some point, you know, we have to stop shaming people for giving a damn. And this is one of those key points that we're seeing, or these key examples that we're seeing it in. This man passes. He leaves behind a legacy that was powerful, that was progressive for the community. And some of y'all are mad because people who weren't as in tune with who he was are now getting in tune.
Yeah.
Like, shouldn't you be happy that these people are actually getting hip? Like, okay, we see what he was doing. Maybe it was someone who was looking for his type of mindset in the hip hop community, and unfortunately at his demise they found it, and now it's sparked a light in them to say, you know what, I need to go and do this.
Right.
this is what I'm going to do for my community. Just in honor and in respect to what he was doing, this sparks the light bulb for me to go, you know what, I can do the same thing in my community. Or I can do something similar. So if his demise, as unfortunate as his demise was, if it's sparking a light in people to do better in their communities, we should be applauding that. And for anyone to stand in and kind of shame you for finally saying, oh snap, he was doing this, he was a part of this, he was doing this.
Yeah.
Oh, what's the marathon thing about? Oh, what was his, his mindset on the community? What was he doing in the community? Maybe I can take some of that template and actually utilize it for something I want to do in my own community. That's to be applauded, not shamed.
Yeah.
And I think it comes to, everybody on social media. I think social media has made it successful to be a troll. And to conduct troll behavior. Right.
It's easier.
Yeah, it's a lot easier to just be negative and be the one in the room that's like, oh, y'all stupid. Y'all should have been doing that. Or it's almost cool in social media to be the naysayer. And the unfortunate part of that is that the very growth that some of these people claim to want to see in their community, they don't realize that they're roadblocking it by shaming people for waking up.
Right.
So I'm just, like I said, I just got to call it's stupid. It's really just no other word that I can think of besides stupid. And if you're doing it, stop doing it and actually take your friend and applaud them. And if they need some information, send it to them. Hey, I found this. Hey, you might want to look into this. Because the support that people need at these times, or the mindset that these people are going into, is something that needs to be supported because it pushes that behavior to continue.
And you're doing essentially the exact opposite of what Nipsey was preaching, right? He wanted us to be connected, to be together, support each other.
Yep.
And you're bashing someone for wanting to now seek the information that's going to help them do that and further themselves, our community, the people around them.
Yeah.
So it's really something to think about. Just because they weren't there right away doesn't mean that they can't get there. It doesn't mean that you should shame them for trying to get there. Everyone moves at a different speed. Yep. So absolutely. If it took this for someone to say, hey, let me go get this information, that is okay. That is okay.
Absolutely.
Take that time to teach them, to help them, to grow. And this, I feel like a lot of this is why we don't get ahead as a community.
I agree.
It's crabs in a barrel, right? Everyone's pulling everybody down.
To be the biggest crab.
Right. But I think that was a really good point. Don't shame people for trying to further their education and to learn more about something that's going to help them and essentially, overall probably help us as a community.
That could be the next person to build the next marathon or the next whatever their version of that store, or whatever that is.
Yeah. And if I'm just going to add this, if you're talking about, I've seen a lot of posts that was like, oh, I'm the Nipsey of my neighborhood. If you're not doing anything to actually, back that up, stop saying it. Like, go out, take action, do something, get off your butt, move, go help, go do something. There are so many things that need to be done. So it's not just a hashtag. Don't just use this man's, like, do not use this man's death as just a hashtag.
Or as clickbait.
Right. Like
that's not,
that is sad. That is sad. That's all I'm saying.
Just to switch gears a little bit.
Yeah.
But we're still on the same topic. What did you think of the controversy or the conspiracy theories that came out in regards to the connection between the Dr. Sebi documentary that Nipsey was working on and his demise? I'm
all about conspiracy theories.
Okay.
I really, for a while I was like, yeah, maybe, because, all of a sudden this man gets murdered. When it comes out that he's doing this documentary and trying to provide information, all of a sudden this guy has beef and wants to murder him. It seemed like from a lot of the interviews that he did and a lot of the videos that were out about him that he was just out like Crenshaw and Slauson. That's his place. Like he was just out.
Yeah,
he was doing what he was doing.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden, like, you know what I mean? Like maybe this guy was hired by the government. I don't know. But it is interesting. I try not to go dive too deep into these things because I know, like, you can get really lost in these conspiracy theories.
You can. You definitely can.
It could have just been coincidence, You know, it could have just been something, you know, this man has a whole life we know nothing about. So it could have been that this guy had beef with him and, you know, whatever. Or the guy could have been hired by the government. So y'all better watch out. Nick Cannon, be careful.
Yeah.
We don't want to hear your raps.
No rapping. Go ahead and do the documentary though. Yeah. But I think I had my eyebrow raised as it came up because, you know, the story went out or the information went out that Nipsey was saying, oh, if I get killed because of doing this documentary, I need y'all to just keep pushing or whatever the case, you know. So that kind of raised the eyebrow for me. And then for him, my logic is if you had an issue or conflict with someone over the whole being rejected from the neighborhood because you snitched. That was the story that was being told.
Sure.
I think about the fact that if you've been home for a while, the community already knew you were a snitch.
Right.
So where was that energy for the guy who outed you? And now supposedly there was a disagreement between him and Nipsey, and Nipsey didn't want him around because of his status as a snitch in the community, and that resulted in this altercation which cost Nipsey his life. I'm thinking, did you have that energy for the guy who first said this? That's what made it weird to me. I mean, of course, we're not there. We don't know. We can only speculate. But I'm like, where was your energy for the guy who outed you? And is this guy alive still? And if he is, why Nipsey?
Right.
Maybe because he thought Nipsey was a bigger target because he had the bigger name. He had the bigger attraction. There was a lot more weight that would have been held because of it. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's all speculation. But then I also look at the fact of, you know, he was a Crip. They were all a part of the same affiliations or whatever. And I don't know the details of that argument or that conversation. So anything could have happened. So for me, I still say we haven't cleared the air on whether or not the conspiracy is true or not. I'm like on the fence. I'm kind of in the middle. Like it could be. You could probably make the argument that it's not.
Yeah. But
I don't know. Because like I said, if this was a situation where you've already been outed, let's say you've been out for a couple of months, I'm pretty sure they knew. And
there's a chance we'll never know what happened.
Never.
We will never know. You know, we'll never really know the truth of all that. But I always say they don't want us to be great. And so when you're getting to a place where you're really enhancing the community and you're really doing things to kind of promote Black excellence, that's what he was all about. They're going to take you out. They want us to stay at the bottom. They don't want us to grow. They don't want us to get better. So, you never know. Homeboy might have got hired by some... This is all speculation. You know, we don't know. We'll never know.
One thing I am happy about is that not only did it wake up a lot of different minds to see what he was doing in this community and showing people that you don't necessarily have to be white collar, blue collar. You know, you can be a person who's in tune with your community and still be someone who's a positive force in your community. But it also was great to see the influx of people who started wanting to kind of look into Dr. Sebi and what he taught with the holistic healing and eating more alkaline and having a more alkaline body. And people are starting to get more in tune with their health and... Well, trying.
I want to say to an extent. Because it's another issue that I have is that everything does not need to be a post on social media, people. So if you're actually, you know, people share these things and be like, oh, yeah, I'm doing this, but, you know, still out here drinking, drugging, swallowing people's kids. You can't, I mean, I did not even say that. Yep. Well, you know, anyway. So you do these things, you know, put them into action, put some action behind the words. Everything doesn't need to just be a post. There needs, you know, this man should not die in vain.
Absolutely.
There's a lot left for us to do. And do I think that what Dr. Sebi preaches is absolutely amazing? Yes. But do I think that it's all, you know, also a lot of it is just talking on social media right now and no one's actually doing it? Yeah, I do. But that's
a lot of cap going on.
Yeah. So take the information and utilize it. Don't just share it online. Yeah. I mean, yes, sharing information is amazing, but not for you to just be like, oh, I'm going to do this. You know, this man died for. Don't let it be in vain. Yeah. You know, and we may not have known him personally, but it definitely hit our community really hard. I am not a person who I don't really listen to rap in that to that extent. But my partner does. So Nipsey was playing in my house all the time.
That's his guy anyway.
That's his guy
anyway. That's his guy.
He loves him. And so the day that he died, our house just felt really heavy. You know, everything just felt really heavy. And that kind of triggered something in me of like, wow, how can someone have such a profound impact? And I didn't know him, didn't really listen to him.
Thousands of miles away.
Right. Like, I mean, like I said, I didn't listen to him personally, but it played in my house. But it was still one of those things where I was like, I need to do better. Like, look at all the stuff that he was doing. It's like, I need to do more.
Yeah.
So I hope that sparks the same thing in a lot of people, and not let it just be, like I said, a hashtag on social media for the next, month, and then all of a sudden that goes away.
Yeah. One of the things that sparked for me was, it made me think about my own people in my own circle and the things that they're trying to do or attempting to do, which is one of the reasons I have on this t-shirt. It says AHMOD on it, all hands on deck, and this is the moniker that was coined by my boy, I gotta shout him out, my boy Slay, aka the next mayor. He's running for mayor, and I mean, thinking about the Nipsey situation kind of takes me into a mindset of, I gotta make sure I'm actually saluting and showing love to the people I have around me who are doing great things. We got a person with a degree sitting next to me who busted her ass, 2 degrees, who busted her ass to get through college. Yeah. And, my brother is in college right now, and every now and then, just for no reason, I'll send him a message like, bro, I'm proud of you. You know what I mean? I got a younger brother who lives all the way out in Long Island who's working, who's doing 3, 4, 5 different sports throughout the year.
And what about you? You moved up here from New York City and to a small town, and has since been a pillar in the community. Like, you do what you can to be known, like to help out, to be known, to get involved. That's huge. Yeah.
So, I mean, you got to definitely, one thing I do agree with the naysayers on is give people their flowers while they're still here.
Yeah.
I definitely agree with that sentiment, because you might have a bunch of people around you and may not even realize it, that you don't show them enough of the support that you definitely could, or you don't even just give them that reminder like, yo, I'm proud of you.
Yeah.
I see what you're doing. I'm proud of what you're doing. Like I said, I purposely put on the all hands on deck t-shirt, because as far as I'm concerned, I mean, Slay is a great guy. He's for the youth. He's for the community. He's a part of the community and active in the community at the same time. So if he wanted to put up the hashtag on my neighborhood's Nipsey Hustle, as far as I'm concerned, he could.
Yeah.
But I definitely got to salute my guys and salute my people, that are around me doing great things while they're here, because I don't want them to just be another RIP or another hashtag.
Sure. That's a really good point, because, I looked at it in terms of inside my home,
Yeah.
When my fiance got home, I definitely hugged him a little tighter that night, and kind of pulled him a little closer, because I was like, it is a struggle to love a black man. Let me tell you that.
Yeah.
And when I say that, it is a beautiful thing. Don't get me wrong. But there is so much against y'all at all points in time. And we worry about that. I looked at Lauren London and I was like, I could not even imagine. I don't want to imagine the pain that she's feeling and what she has lost. And all to something that probably could have been avoided. And their kids. Yeah, 100%. It's definitely something that opened my eyes, because every day that man walks out the house and I'm like, please do not let anything happen to him. Let him come back home safe. Because you never know.
Yeah.
You never know what can happen the minute that y'all walk outside of our sanctuaries, you know? It's scary. It's a scary world, and it's a scary time.
Yeah, it is. And the crazy thing is that we don't realize it until tragedy strikes. It's usually
to an extent. I think maybe like
us, we don't think about it.
No,
we just I don't think about it. I'll say I don't think about it enough.
Are you saying as a black male, or are you saying community wide?
I think it's community wide. I think most of my guys, my male friends, I don't think they think about it. I think they just go out and they say, you know what? I got to get through the day. Stuff got to get done. And if I don't go out and get it done, it ain't going to get done.
Right.
And we don't really put it on the forefront of our mind. It might be in our subconscious somewhere, just kind of sitting. But it didn't hit me, it didn't hit me until this loss that I'm like, man, that could have been my little bro.
Yeah.
Or one of my little brothers. That could have been my cousin. That could have been, You know, it could have been one of my friends, one of my close friends, one of my bros. Like, it could have been somebody close to me who went through the same exact thing.
Sure. Just
out here trying to do something and actually just amongst their community. It could be either one of us. And I think for me, it's a reminder. It's a reminder of you can be comfortable, but be mindful.
Right.
Be mindful that any given moment, tomorrow is not promised to any of us. You have to live every day with your head held high and focus on the task at hand. But you also have to be reminded that at any point in time, that can all be taken from you.
I think it's interesting that you have said, it wasn't a conscious thought for you.
Yeah.
Because I think that every day. For me, it's something that crosses my mind at least 5 times a day. And for your wife, that might be the case for her. But you don't know what we kind of go through when we're with you guys. It's probably better that you don't think about it during the day because
I agree.
It probably
not
keep you back from a lot of stuff, right? But for us, I feel like she probably worries the second you walk out the door.
Probably.
I know I do, and I know that maybe that's part of the partnership is that we take on some of the stuff that you guys don't have to. We want you to be able to go out and live your life and be free, but we also know that might come with a cost.
Yeah.
And so I can speak for myself. I take that on and I say, I want to make sure that he's safe. I want to make sure when you leave the house, you're going to walk back in.
Yeah. I have to ask Lauren about that because she never talks about it, but you're right. It might be something that she deals with in her subconscious or even in the forefront. It might just be something that crosses her mind throughout the course of the day.
Yeah.
And she never tells me about it.
Yeah.
So I never know.
Right.
But
because we don't want to put that back on.
Yeah, but that's a big burden for you guys to have to bear throughout the course of the day when, our safety is on your mind when you have things you have to do. So it's a big psychologically. Superwoman, it's that melanin magic, man. And that power of a woman because you guys can take on so many different things psychologically and still kind of find the power, the strength, and the determination to actually get through the day despite all the psychological obstacles that are kind of playing combat in your head. It's amazing how you guys operate, and we have to thank you guys because, in a lot of ways, whether you realize it or not, directly or indirectly, you guys kind of give us that support to be able to have the confidence to go out there into the world and say, you know what, I got to get it done.
Yeah.
So we got to definitely send our appreciation to our queens because without them, it'd be a struggle out here in these streets, fellas. So hold your queen tonight. Any last words?
Yeah, probably. My brain's like
it's a lot. Wow. It's a lot.
We said so many words. For me, I would say, stay informed. Do your research. Do your homework. Mm-hmm. There is no such thing as too much information. Love each other. Be kind to each other. We need it. We deserve it. And keep being great.
What she said.
All right. Next time.
Peace.